Today we're going to be giving a hive away, but because we work our hives on what we call the Rose system, which the boxes are a particular size and all our boxes are all the same size, majority of beekeepers where we are use the national box, and the national box one that we've got here is a slightly larger box. So what we've got to do, we need to get all the bees from our hive to go into that national box. The way we're going to do this is we're going to put their box on top, and the queen and the bees will naturally work upwards and put the nest eventually into the top box. This should take 3 to 4 weeks hopefully, by which time then we should find that all the bees have congregated in the top box, and we will be able to remove that top box and then close this hive down. Now the reason we're doing it is that we've got 13 hives out of the 14 that have overwintered, which is a fantastic success, and we are assuming that all these 13 that are left are going to want to swarm at some point, and in which case we would have 26 hives, something we couldn't possibly cope with. Really we operate on about 20. So this is just one method. We're going to give this hive away in about 3 weeks time, and we'll come back in 3 weeks and have a look and see how they're getting on. Right, let's now see what we have in here, and we're looking at the top box first, and we're anticipating in the top box that they'll all be up here, and the bottom box will most likely be empty, but we'll see. It's all looking very active.
Half the pollen patty is gone.
Half the pollen patty is gone, which is excellent. There's no need really to go looking in there because the hive looks absolutely full with bees, which is lovely. The only thing we'll need to check up on is how much honey we have in the hive.
So 1 week ago we had about 1 to 2 frames of honey, which was just about survivable. So I think they may need another honey from another hive to keep them going if they're going to go into another box.
We can get a good idea of how much honey is in this hive just by lifting this particular box. And I would say there's a lot of honey in there, a lot of honey.
So looking at this, there's lots of bees, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the comb, which would be fantastic because we could take this off and then they have less space to heat up during the cold week next week. So we're just going to go through the hive. Yep, nothing there. Yep, nothing there. And that frame needs replacing, as you can see. It's quite dark.
This is full of nectar.
Again, nectar.
I'm wondering if this is one of the hives that robbed
the hive that died out.
The hive that died out.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, we could shake, if we're not finding much, we can shake these.
Yeah.
We can shake these girls out into the top box.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Shake them into the new box.
Yes, just shake them.
They'll be already on it.
Yeah.
Okay, carefully. You okay with that?
Yep.
It's a two-man job. But poor Andy's doing it on his own. Real. You can see here there's a great big gap between our box and the national box. That's why we had the tape on before. So we'll have to cover it with tape in the meantime for the next 3 weeks. keep the robbers out and keep the wind chill out. Just checking the frames to make sure they're all suitable. Using that slightly odd one on the outside. What's really nice to see is all these frames are drawn out. The comb is here rather than being flat, so they don't need to have to draw them out, which requires a lot of honey, a lot of energy and a lot of warmth, which next week is not going to be.
You can shake the neck out.
Yeah. Oh wow. You can see this. All the nectar that Andy's shaken out has gone all over the frames, which actually is in then the right place. It will bring all the bees up to this box, and then probably they'll store a bit of this. So this is probably a good thing to do. So we'll shake all the nectar as well as the bees.
Yeah, no more.
Drowning them.
Yeah, no more.
That's too much, like a lot, but they'll actually clear it up, won't they?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. They'll be desperate to get this nectar back into the cells, so I'm sure they'll be filling these frames up quite quickly. We'll have this hive shut up before any of the other bees have discovered that there's loads of nectar around. Pollen patty back on.
So just to help them along, because there's very little pollen in this top box, obviously, because if we just put it on, we're going to give them another half a pollen pate. And as this week is going to be rather cold, at least they've got something to work on and they can take this down into the hive. So we just open it up for them and lay it across there, and that's roughly where they'll come up and help themselves. And we will find that when we next go into the hive, all this will have gone and been put into the cells and used for brood rearing. Okey-dokey.
Flick these bees away so they don't get trapped.
We've got a fair bit of nectar in these frames, and that's one thing you don't want to waste. The bees have spent all that time gathering it. So we're going to leave this box well away from the hives, and they can actually then rob these frames out and take the honey or the nectar back to their particular colonies. It won't force them to rob another hive, because we're going to put the frames so far away that they think it's just a possible nectar source. But it's the best way of not wasting all this lovely nectar we've got in these frames. And the reason we're not going to save it is because most of these frames we're going to actually replace as they've had their use, they've had their life. Things like that particular frame, which has partly drawn comb for the male bees, the drones, and it really isn't that suitable and it's looking a bit mucky, so we'll replace all of them. Well, the hive's settled down, the bees don't even know what's gone on, and we'll leave them to it now through the next cold spell. We'll come back in 3 weeks and have a look and see whether they've gone up to the top box, but we're pretty confident that they will have moved up into that top box and should start laying up there.